In the first two sessions, we have covered the RFI, the SQR, and the acceptance of necessity. Now, coming to session 3, we shall cover in this the request for proposal, one of the most important document for the project, and the technical evaluation committee. The fourth stage in the procurement process is the request for proposal. It is also known as the solicitation of offer when the SHQ goes to the industry to ask them to reply to the request for proposal. It is a single stage two-bid system. It primarily means that the technical bid and the commercial bid are submitted simultaneously in two separate sealed envelopes. Now, the preparation of the draft RFP, all internal vetting, including consultation, is done prior to the UN stage. That is, the draft RFP is ready. All issues which merit incorporation is included in the statement of case at the UN accord stage itself. Now, there are certain comments to the draft RFP when the SHQ forwards it to the various appointments concerned. And these comments are collated by the SHQ, and within 4 weeks, all the commenting agencies are required to give their comments. Collegiate vetting and approval of the RFP takes place, in which the RFP is vetted and the finalization of vendor list is done. And this is done by the Joint Secretary and AM, ADG, Acquisition Tech, the Financial Manager, and the SHQ reps. In this, the Quality Assurance Agency, Advisor, Director costs for delegated and non-delegated cases respectively are included. And post the vetting, the draft RFP is forwarded to certain appointments, including the vice chiefs of the 3 services. And this is sent through a focal nodal agency, which is the ADG Acquisition Technical. Issue of the RFP is done by respective ADG Acquisition Technical of the 3 services, and no addition to the vendor list is allowed after issue of RFP. Please recollect that at the time when the RFI was put on, vendors had a time to opt for the particular case and give their case in for acceptance. Pre-bid queries and bid submission. The submission to this is done normally within 12 weeks from the RFP issue. But in single vendor cases, repeat option clauses, we'll come to those later on, it is done in a shorter time frame within 8 weeks. Now, there is a pre-bid meeting, including the questionnaire can be put up by the vendors concerned to the user directorate, and their representative all concerned, including from the offset agency DOMW, the production agency for transfer of technology, maintenance transfer of technology, the trial agencies concerned representatives, and of course from the MOD, including the finance manager. The bidders' queries have to be answered within 3 weeks. The techno-commercial offer. The committee is chaired by the ADG Acquisition Technical / the SHQ, depending on delegated, non-delegated powers. The technical offers are opened and they're sent to the SHQ for evaluation by the committee known as Technical Evaluation Committee. And the commercial offer, which is submitted separately by the vendor concerned, it is unopened and it is sent to the acquisition manager / the section service headquarters, depending on whether it is non-delegated powers or delegated powers. In cases where there is only commercial RFP, the committee forwards the technical compliance to SHQ for confirmation, which the vendor has provided. Since there is no technical bid as such, SHQ has to revert in a week to the chairman CNC that the technical compliance is accepted. Contents of the RFP. The first part of the general requirements, in which the quantity required, time frame, the non-disclosure agreement, eligibility, indigenous content, preservation, training, transfer of technology, maintenance infrastructure, offsets, warranty, etc. are included. The next part is the technical requirement, in which the service qualitative requirement, the no cost, no commitment trials of the first procurement of the equipment, the engineering support package, the life cycle support, the AMC annual maintenance contract, the quality assurance, the detailed project report. Commercial requirements are there, that is the payment terms, the various bank guarantees, the price variation clause in case of only Indian vendors participation and for deliveries beyond 36 months, the price variation clause are included. Bid evaluation and acceptance criteria is there, in which the evaluation criteria, trial methodology, that's the trial matrix, is put into it, the certificate or conformance, the acceptance test procedure along with technical bid where required. Now, certain amendments are acceptable. In case of any typo amendment, the DG acquisition, the CISC oblique the vice chiefs of the services, that is approvals for the non-delegated oblique the delegated power respectively. Any other amendment can only be carried out by the UN authority who carries out the approval. However, a condition is this, that the change should not put the vendor at a disadvantage. Now, there are certain important clauses in the RFP. In a multi-vendor case, if a single vendor only bids for the particular project, the SHQ will proceed and complete the technical evaluation committee proceedings. However, thereafter, it will refer directly to the UN authority within 4 weeks from the TEC acceptance. If it is considered that a change in the SQR cannot help meet the operational requirement of the services, or even if you change the RFP, the SQR cannot increase the vendor base, oblique it may delay the complete cycle of procurement, then the case can be processed as an ab initio single vendor case with AON authority approval. However, there is a proviso. The vendor has to agree to hold the commercial bid till completion. That means he cannot change his quote. An effort is carried out by the SHQ to complete the proceedings before expiry of the original bid. However, it is not binding. In buy and make Indian cases, at times, all Indian vendors who are collaborating may collaborate with the same foreign OEM. In this case, the case can be progressed with AON according authority approval, provided that the earlier stipulations that had been mentioned have been met. Now, for bid extensions, no extension normally will be given unless there is compelling mitigating circumstances. Now, any request for extension of time has to be sent by the vendor to the ADG Acquisition Technical oblique the service headquarter at least 2 weeks prior to bid submission. Extension up to 4 weeks, powers are with the SHQ. Beyond that, it is with the DG Acquisition, the CIS, the 3 vice chiefs, oblique with the DG Indian Coast Guards as applicable. It is the Technical Evaluation Committee or the TEC which evaluates the technical bid of the vendors concerned. Now, the committee basically constituted with the service headquarter. They are representatives of the user service, the maintenance agency, the quality assurance agencies, the finance manager in non-delegated case, PIFA or IFA in delegated case, the production agency nominated by the UN authority DRDO where transfer of technology is involved. Many feel that the TEC can be done away and it is a redundant step. However, in my opinion, the TEC gives time for the user headquarter to consider as to what is the technical offer in the correct manner, so as to be able to formulate the trial methodology, which they yet have to do so. It also, in case there are certain vendors who are really not complying with the SQR, they can be eliminated without taking them and wasting their time in the purposes of field evaluation trials. So an important step in the evaluation of technical offer, the SHQ evaluates the extent of variation or differences with the SQR, and a compliance statement is prepared, and this shortlists the equipment which goes on to the field evaluation trials, oblique if trials are not involved, for induction. And it examines the compliance to the vendors for the balance of the RFP provisions also. And in case there is a joint compliance of OEM and Indian entity, wherever maintenance infrastructure is required, that has to be provided and it is examined. There is a vendor interaction that is permitted. In this, the SHQ may ask, or the TEC may ask the vendors for presentation or clarification on the technical bid. If there are minor variations that come up in the technical bid, which do not affect the basic character of an offer, it may be acceptable provided fair play, that means equally to everyone, no extra time to upgrade the equipment is provided except for enhanced performance parameters, Bravo, which we had seen in the previous session that it could be up to the FOPM level. No SQR dilution is permitted. And if he had submitted the commercial quote along with the technical bid, this commercial quote cannot be revised prior to the time which is normally allowed, which is 18 months. Approval of the TEC report. The TEC report should be concluded in 4 weeks and the report is submitted to concerned procurement directorate in the SHQ by the TEC. The approval of the TEC will be by the SHQ except where the vendor is non-compliant or cases involving transfer of technology or additional reward for indigenous content. If all this is there, then the approval is by the DG acquisition, by the CIS, the 3 vice chiefs, and this is always through the ADG acquisition tech. There could be a situation that at the TEC stage, a single vendor emerges. That it was a multi-vendor case, a number of vendors had bidded, but however, there is only one technically compliant. The process may be continued. However, the single vendor will not be allowed to change his commercial bid through the entire acquisition process. Also, it will be ascertained whether any change in the SQR can meet the operational requirement or not, as also whether it can increase the vendor base or it may delay procurement. And the UN authority, approving authority will have to be taken for it to proceed as a single vendor case. Now, in such a evolved single vendor case, effort is done again by the SHQ to complete the process before the expire of the original validity of the commercial quote. The certificate of conformance at times is asked for from the vendor concerned, and this is to be required to be submitted with all documentation and the draft acceptance trial procedure by the vendor as part of the technical bid. Now, this is shared with the quality assurance EMI, EMC evaluation agencies if required at the start of the TEC itself. At times, the vendor gets delayed in this and becomes a problem, especially in terms of the certificate of conformance supported by the documentations. The draft ATP at times can be taken before the trials start off. The trial agency reserves the right to undertake random sampling despite the certificate of conformance being given by the vendor at the FET stage. Now, wherever offset is required, their technical offset evaluation committee is formed, constituted by the ADG acquisition with the DG acquisition approval, chaired by the JS DOMW, that is Offset Department of Offset Management, with representation from the service headquarters, DRDO, and experts. The TOEC report will be forwarded by the chairman to the DG acquisition through the concerned ADG acquisition technical again. If the OEM bids separately to a particular vendor, there are two bidders, OEM and the vendor, providing the same product as that of the OEM, only the bid of the OEM is accepted. The exception is in buy global manufacture in India cases, where the Indian vendor offering FOEM products is allowed to bid with the foreign vendor, basically to give advantage to the Indian vendor. In session 3, we've had a look at the RFP and the TEC as the 4th and the 5th sets of the procurement cycle. In session 4, we will have a look at field evaluation trials, which is the longest phase of the complete trial process, but possibly the most important one of all. Thank you very much for listening in. It's been a pleasure with you, and a happy new year to all of you. Thank you.